this race, you can visit my website at www.andrewjansforcongress.com. Follow me on Twitter at Janz for Congress. On Facebook and Instagram, we are very active, and we post multiple times a day. And would just encourage your listeners to go out there and check out all the great things that we're doing here on the ground.
And I just want to second that Twitter handle. I only follow 49 people on Twitter, and Andrew is one of them. And his tweets are awesome. So highly recommended.
All right. Well, I got to say, I'm going to be looking at a lot of races on election night. We were just discussing how we're going to keep track of all the races we care about, but yours is one we're definitely going to be watching very closely.
I think that a lot of people are going to be surprised on November 6th. So I'm happy to have you following along and supporting what we're doing.
Well, thank you so much for coming on again. It's great to catch up with you. It's been quite a while, and it's been so great to see such energy in your race.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Let's do this again before election night. Kelly,
Agreed.
Sophie, thank you so much for having me on.
Thanks for being here.
Hello, this is Tao. I am the owner of Nerd Bird Makery, which is an online shop for crafters. A couple of weeks ago, I called you guys to let you know that I had a fundraiser going to raise money for some, women candidates in the midterm elections, and I just want to give you an update. We donated $1,600 to Sharif and Shireen Gorbani's campaign. Luckily, we have another $600 that will be donated again to another woman candidate running for a political office. If you'd like to contribute or get a feminist knit club shirt, please go to my website at nerdbirdmakery.com. All of the proceeds from the sales of those shirts will continue to be donated to women candidates in the midterm election. Thanks again.
Today, we're thrilled to be joined by Jessica Morse, who is running for Congress in the California 4th District. Hi, Jessica.
Hi, Kelly. Hi, Sophie. Great to be here.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us. Could you start by telling us just a little bit about yourself and why you're running for Congress this year?
Sure. I'm actually 5 generations from my district, which includes Yosemite and Lake Tahoe and much of the Sierra Nevada here in California. So it's a gorgeous district. My great-grandmother, I found a photo of her recently with a little shotgun on her shoulder, tromping around Donner Pass around 1900. And below it said, Edith, hunting. So I come from very kind of hardy mountain stock in the district and grew up backpacking and hiking and hunting and fishing all over the Sierra. I actually hiked the whole district on the Pacific Crest Trail a few years ago, which was about 500 miles. And then I grew up with a really deep commitment to service. We were out cleaning up trails and rivers every weekend and volunteering with the nursing home. And so I dedicated my career to public service and spent 10 years all over the world with the Defense Department, State Department, and the U.S. Agency for International Development. And that included a year and a half on the ground in Iraq as a civilian, standing side by side with our troops every single day. And I saw the consequences of partisan games being played out in the real world. And I thought, well, you know what, maybe our country would be better off if we stopped electing politicians and instead started electing some public servants.
Speaking of public servants, there's been a bit of concern over the past week or so that there may be some PACs out there that are using people's service records sort of against them to find out information about them and dox them. Is this something you've been concerned about at all?
Sure. I did 10 years in national security and so had a, top secret security clearance. And so that means the SF-86, the form that was properly handled and misused and then released by Paul Ryan's PAC, I have that as well. So I received a letter saying that I'm potentially at risk for this as well. And for me, this exemplifies why we need to change the political culture. Because right now, politicians seem to be defining winning as the other party losing, and they're not thinking through real-life consequences. And so for them to be targeting every member of every candidate running with a national security background, right, who has a security clearance, and these are people, like all of us signed up to serve our country, not a political party. And most of us have joined right now to run for Congress because we recognize the danger of allowing this partisanship to continue. And, I think the people that released, the personal information on a security clearance form, they have missed the point of America. They're not understanding that America is about serving our country. It's about having dialogue. It's about having our country move forward. And they're willing to go to the lowest lengths, to be able to undermine the credibility of people that have served our country. And I think it's abhorrent.
Can you tell us a little bit about the 4th Congressional District in California? Demographically, what's it like? Politically, what's it like?
Yeah, it is a gorgeous part of Northern California. I would imagine a lot of your listeners have been here. It starts in the east suburbs of Sacramento. It goes all the way up the foothills in the Sierra to the Nevada border. So it includes the entire California side of Lake Tahoe. It then goes south along the spine of the Sierra through Yosemite National Park and Kings Canyon National Park. So our district is gorgeous. It's full of all of these little old gold rush towns, lots of kind of multi-generational families with the original homestead like mine, lots of people who just love our community. There's a little bit of a pioneer spirit here that's left over, and where there's the sense of independence and we can just get it done ourselves. And what I've been finding is that, this is a district where there's a lot of people who are very conservative. And what's interesting is that I grew up in a conservative family here, and I learned values, that will sound familiar to most Americans, the value of hard work and education, and the value of, being wise stewards for our tax dollars, the value of treating people with respect and dignity, and how important it is to really stand up for our community. And those aren't partisan values. Those are community values. And, when I decided to run here, I knew that I wouldn't run on a partisan agenda and that I couldn't run on a partisan agenda. And so I started my campaign with a listening tour of the district. So I went to all 10 counties in my district. I put 15,000 miles on my car in 3 months and met with local county supervisors, local mayors, CAL FIRE chiefs, hospital boards, school boards, and I heard really innovative solutions to the challenges our community faces. This is a district that has a lot of forest land, so forest fire is a major, major threat for us and is on the forefront of everyone's minds. But a forest fire is not asking if you're a Republican or a Democrat before it burns down your home. This is a district where we don't have access to broadband, in a lot of the mountain counties. This is a district where our infrastructure often gets neglected. And people are working really hard, but having a hard time finding places to live. And so I went and I listened and I heard innovative solutions to all of these challenges. How to thin the forest and reduce fire hazard by creating jobs. How to promote vocational training so that we're creating green energy jobs that are demanded in our district that will start solving some of the local challenges. How to fix our infrastructure. And what I heard consistently is that our community was missing a partner at the federal level, that we have great ideas, great leaders, and they just don't have an advocate or a partner to break down these red tape barriers and bring real solutions back to our community. And I thought, well, I can be a partner for our community, and so decided to step forward.
I think maybe you're starting to answer this question already, but this is rated as an R+10 district, likely Republican, but the DCCC has put this district on the red to blue list, and you've raised a ton of money, more than the Republican incumbent. So what are you seeing? What sort of energy is kind of on the ground there? What does this look like, that sort of this discrepancy between what you might think the district would be and what some of the signs seem to be pointing to?
Well, the incumbent has failed our district. He never actually moved to our district. He's a career politician from Southern California who never moved here. And so he doesn't evacuate from a forest fire like the rest of us. He doesn't get stuck at the Highway 65-80 interchange every day, in traffic like the rest of our community. And therefore he tends to vote against us. This is a man who voted to block healthcare from people with pre-existing conditions. He actually called a pre-existing condition a nuisance. And that impacts 300,000 people in our district. He actually blocked funding for this interchange that we get stuck in every single day, the Highway 65-80 interchange. So it didn't have federal tax dollars coming back to it. And instead, we actually had to raise municipal and state bonds to be able to try to pay for this impact. So he's putting us in a position where we're getting double taxed. And I mean, worse off, the district includes Yosemite and Tahoe. My opponent, Tom McClintock, he's a climate change denier. Last April, he tweeted out, "Oh, congratulations, POTUS, for pulling out of the Paris Climate Agreement. We have to support working families." I tweeted back at him, I said, "Wait, what about the working families in Tahoe who depend on our ski industry as one of the largest employers in our district? And when our snow level has gone from roughly 6,000 feet to 7,000 feet on average over the last decade, it means our ski industry is disappearing. And we're seeing the impacts of it daily. With these wildfires are getting worse and worse for the community, impacting small businesses. They shut down Yosemite, at peak season this year, when most businesses around the park get the majority of their revenue for the entire year in those 2 months. And so to have the park shut down at peak season was devastating for local economies in 4 of our counties. And so it's critical that we have somebody who understands our community. And that's why we're seeing people come out across the political spectrum, because it doesn't matter your political party if you're being threatened by a forest fire. It doesn't matter your political party if you're being stuck at this interchange every single day. It is about our community. And we have a representative right now who's been voting against our community. And so I've been getting people across the political spectrum on board because they recognize that our campaign is focused on actually addressing the local needs. And I mean, we're seeing huge results. In the primary alone, we had a 183% increase in Democratic voter turnout. It's one of the highest in the state. We had 211,000 ballots cast. That's because we have volunteers out knocking doors every single day. I go out and knock doors every day. I knocked on well over 1,000 doors just in the primary, and I'm not even sure what my count is now. But it's about running a campaign that is engaging with our community and really listening to people, and that has people inspired and excited and recognizing that if we step forward and we make this change, we can actually win.
One of the things I love seeing is on your social media, I see lots of pictures of kids. So you talking to kids and buying lemonade from their lemonade stands, and you have some interns who are too young to vote but are helping out. What does that sort of look like for you? What is the youthful energy of the district? Is it there? And why do you think it's important to stop and talk to the kids?
Oh, I mean, the kids are phenomenal in our community. I love kids in general. I spent some summers as a camp counselor and just love engaging with kids and have an adorable nephew myself. And I've been finding that our children in this district recognize that they can make an impact and are really empowered. And what's interesting, we have a whole Students for Morse group with a lot of kids who are too young to vote, who are fully engaged, canvassing, knocking on doors, interning with us, organizing their community. They hosted a tailgate party, Students for Morse tailgate party, where we had, kids playing in a band, and they set up a taco stand. And, I think we had well over 100 kids who just showed up on a random weeknight, and they kept dragging their parents. And it was amazing. Many of them dragged very conservative parents over. And the parents said, I didn't want to come here, but my child was so insistent. I've never seen them excited about anything political, and I wanted to encourage it. And now we're totally with you. I mean, it's getting them on board. But what's interesting is what actually got the kids, the momentum behind the children, was after Parkland. These are kids who are afraid at school, and they're afraid for their lives every single day. They're not sure. One of them was telling me the other day that when she heard a fire alarm, she wasn't sure if she should hide under her desk or run outside because she wasn't sure it was a trap. And so our children don't need to be experiencing this. And our member of Congress has been terrible on this front. He came out and said, he said we should arm teachers, and every man, woman, and child should defend themselves. And I pointed out, I have lived in a place where everybody is armed. It's called a war zone. And so when our kids went out to try to talk to him in D.C., he wouldn't meet with our high school students. And his aide met with them and said, well, if you don't like his policies on guns, you can just vote him out of office. So this whole crew of high school students came back, showed up on my doorstep, and they said, hi, we're here to vote him out of office. and what they are recognizing is that when we stand up for our community, that they can impact it, that their member of Congress really has a direct impact on their lives, and they can have a direct impact on who that member of Congress is. And so that's why we're getting all these kids out knocking on